All right, I think we are live. What is going on, everybody? It's Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another Xbox 2 podcast. And with me, as always, the one and only Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, not much, man. Not much. You know, the world being crazy and all that. Oh.
Uh-oh.
I just created an echo.
I don't like hearing my voice, Jazz. Do you hate that? Like, because I watched your video that you posted since you're now becoming a huge YouTuber, a massive YouTuber. Do you like listening back to your voice and hearing how you sound? Because I honestly hate it, and I have to re-listen to all my videos as I gotta edit the audio, and I just cringe. I'm like, how does anybody listen to what I have to say? I sound so horrible.
Well, I used to make music in my early 20s. So and I used to sing for that band. So I had to get used to it, because you listen to a recording over and over and over and over again. Eventually, Rand, you do get used to it. Trust me. Trust me, pal.
So how you been, buddy?
Yeah. Not so bad. The news is depressing, as we all know.
The news is incredibly depressing. I know a lot of people use gaming as escape, and we do the podcast to just that, kind of just me and Jazz getting together with a bunch of friends to talk about the news, but we'd be remiss not to mention the horrible, horrible things that are going on in the United States right now. I mean, all the protests and it's horrible, man. I don't know. Do you want to say anything before we move on? Because I don't want to make this too long, but I feel like we do have to kind of mention it and say something, right?
Well, me and Rand both support Black Lives Matter and what it stands for. We stand against police brutality and all that stuff. It's been insane watching the videos on Twitter of the way the police in America have been behaving, and it's just crazy. And you have to just sort of hope that this is a turning point and a moment where there'll be lasting change. And not just America either, but Britain and other Western nations as well. A lot to answer for, a lot to fix.
Yeah, racism, like you mentioned in your tweet, has got to go. There's no place for that in the world. I've been kind of watching what's going on, and I'm just kind of sick to my stomach with a lot of stuff. It's depressing. It's depressing as someone who cares about everybody to see all the shit going on in the world.
Yeah, well, I've just been sort of listening and learning at the moment, because I'm not super familiar with. I had no idea that some of the things the way some of the laws worked in the UK and in the US with regards to police force and that sort of thing. But indeed.
Yeah. Yeah, so hopefully we can be your escapism from all the horrible stuff that is going on in the world. But we feel me and Jess had to, obviously, we had to mention it because can't turn a blind eye to all the injustice that's going on and has been going on for a long, long time. So hope everybody stays safe out there. If you're protesting, please stay safe. And make sure you wear a mask, because COVID's still chilling out there. I know I said the C word right away. I'm probably podcast will get demonetized, but whatever. Who cares? So we got a lot here to talk about, Jez. A lot of gaming news. But first, I got to give a shout out to Roberto Rezendi, who's the newest member of the channel. Hit that join button. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Anybody else out there want to, join the channel? Simple, just hit the subscribe button, hit that join button. It really helps the channel. So I don't know. But Jez, we got a lot of stuff here. That Sega announcement, Sega Series X confirmed.
Wait, what?
Confirmed? No. Yeah, no. We're gonna talk about that. Game Pass, the PS5 event, Xbox Series X event in June. All this stuff we're going to be talking about in just a little bit, as we always do. And as everybody comes in here, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share this out on Twitter, social media, because YouTube does a horrible, horrible job of it. And, Jez, tell me what you've been playing, because mine's going to be very short this week, because we're going to get right into the news topics, because I haven't really been playing much. And you know what? I got to get this off my chest really, really quickly here. I don't know if you got some DMs recently about, maybe not necessarily about the last show, but I did. People say that we talk about games too long on the show, and I'm just like, screw you. We'll talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about. Like, oh, you talked about Minecraft Dungeons too long. Well, that's the point of the show. We talk about games when we play them. So I'm sorry if that bored you to talk about Minecraft Dungeons in the video games that you're playing. I know you probably much rather hear about the 12 teraflops the Series X has, or how fast the SSD of the PS5 is. But
indeed,
I hate that shit. Anyways, go on, Jez.
I mean, the games is the art part. It's the part. I want to celebrate the games because it's what developers create for us to enjoy. Ultimately, you don't just buy a console and then look at it and think like, oh wow, that's an amazing plastic box. And again, not to discount the engineering effort that goes into that thing, but it's like the console would be pointless if not for the games. So discussing the games is super important. But I can talk about. I played a lot of Minecraft Dungeons still. We're still writing guides on it. The supposed 9-hour game that I now have 60 hours in. So we've been leaking a lot of Minecraft Dungeons stuff. Turns out a lot of the DLC is actually in the game files, Rand.
Is it? I know there's supposed to be 2 DLCs coming eventually, and I know they're promising one at least on the game itself. So a lot of that stuff is already in like the game files and game code and whatnot.
Oh, well, there's hints basically. There's like a couple of levels from the DLCs. One's in the jungle, one's in like ice biome. And the jungle one's coming in July. And also there's like DLC which seems to suggest that like there's files that seems to suggest end game content like challenges and weekly quests and daily quests and stuff like that. So hopefully there'll be like actually more stuff to do other than grind gear. So we've been leaking that on Windows Central. But other than that, I've been playing Project Warlock. Did I talk about that last week?
I don't think you talked about that last week. That's an indie game. That's not out yet, right? It's coming out soon?
Project Warlock's out on PC. Mm-hmm. It's basically a Doom clone with the classic Doom 2.5D graphics. It has fully 3D environments, but they're sort of stylized with pixel art and stuff. But the gunplay just feels amazing. Like if you like Doom gunplay and games like Hexen and stuff like that, Project Warlock should definitely be on your radar. If you it's basically Doom with magic, basically, kind of like Hexen and stuff like that. You got like a magic staff. You can freeze enemies with spells and then shatter them and stuff like that. It's really, really addictive. It's like $12 too. Like it's a cheap game. So it's up for pre-order now. It launches on the 12th off the top of my head. So yeah, if you like Doom style shooters, check out Project Warlock. There's a video about it on my channel as well. Other than that, Rand, I've been playing Desperados 3. Have you heard of this game?
Yeah, I did hear about it. I don't really know much about what it is. Is it any good?
So like Desperado, I've never heard of Desperados before, but this is the 3rd installment. So it must be. I was like, well, if it's got 3 games, it must be pretty good, right? To justify having 3 sequels. But it's a real-time tactical stealth game. It's really hard to describe because I've never really played anything like this. But there are games like this. Like I believe one was called Shadow Tactics or something like that. It came out a couple of years ago. It's like a ninja stealth tactics game. It's like an isometric stealth Hitman game, basically. You like stealth around, set traps, kill enemies, and solve puzzles to do the level, assassinate people. But because it's a Western, I kind of feel like they've decided we have to have good cinematics because of Red Dead Redemption or something. So it's like this isometric tactics game with sort of surprisingly good voice acting and cinematic work, which I was not expecting. I mean, it's obviously not. It's not on Red Dead level. Obviously, it's like a game made in Unity and stuff like that. But it's really cool. I can't, give my full opinion on it because review embargo and stuff like that. But if you, like tactics games and you like games like Hitman and stealth games like that, you should at least check out some of the previews out there for Desperados 3. Other than that, I've just been playing Minecraft, man. Minecraft Dungeons, regular Minecraft. I'm on a Minecraft kick again because of Minecraft.
Definitely seems like it. Seems like Minecraft's doing pretty well. I noticed it was the most popular Game Pass game. It was like the best-selling game on Xbox, and it was like number 2 on the Switch. I don't know what it's doing on PlayStation. I mean, Minecraft's like, I mean, you could make the argument that Minecraft is the biggest gaming franchise right now in the world.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe
the game is damn unstoppable, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
Grand Theft Auto 5 maybe would be like right up there. Grand Theft Auto, but Minecraft
you got to remember though that Minecraft, regular Minecraft, is also on iOS and Android, and it's like in the top 20 on iPhone as well. So it's like Minecraft everywhere. It's inescapable, and it feels like it's, and also the Nether update for Minecraft's coming soon as well. So it's going to have another resurgence, and pretty big streamers have been playing dungeons like PewDiePie and stuff like that. The Minecraft as a brand is so big. So even though this is like a little game, it could basically, if it wasn't Minecraft, it could pass for an indie, I think. But because it's Minecraft and it's got all that sort of those cute character models everyone loves, and the memeable content, it's blown up again. So I knew it was going to do well. I knew it was going to do well, even if it reviewed poorly, just because it's Minecraft and it just feels good, even though there's like not a ton of content. It just feels good to play. Like I'm addicted to it, even though I've done pretty much everything there is to do in the game.
Right.
But yeah. So what you've been playing? And you said you haven't been playing much, right?
Yeah. First, I got to give a shout out to the newest member of the channel, Dr. Vortex. Really appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for all the support. So what did I play? I played what did I play? I played Moons of Madness on the Xbox One. It's kind of a walking simulator ish game, a puzzle game set on Mars, where you something crazy happens. It didn't really click with me. I wouldn't really recommend it for full price, but if you're kind of interested in that genre, Lovecraftian type of horror, maybe it's a little bit interesting, but I don't know. I didn't think it was very good. I haven't played Warzone in like a week. I'm kind of waiting for the new update for that to come out to see if it's any good, because I think I've hit that point with Warzone, just like I did with Apex Legends and just like I did with PUBG, where it's just not fun anymore. And I don't know how I could go from a couple weeks ago or a month ago where it was like, this is so fun, I'm having the greatest time with my buddies, to now it's like I don't even want to load up Call of Duty Modern Warfare anymore. Like it I don't know. It just comes it's just not fun. I don't know what it is. So
sometimes things get boring, man. You get burned out on games. It felt like that with World of Warcraft. Remember, like a few months ago, I was just like full blown hype on World of Warcraft again, and playing it non-stop all day. And then you get to a point where it's like kind of, it's almost like you've proven to yourself that you can do it to a certain level, and then it's sort of like almost becomes pointless to keep pushing yourself. Kind of, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah.
I don't know, like for me, like I wanted to play Maneater, but every time I kind of try to play that game, it just crashes my console, which is a known bug. Like apparently it's one of those things the developer knows about and they need to patch it. So I was like, okay, I'll wait and I'll play that. I did buy the Saints Row remaster, but I haven't played it yet, so I was kind of looking. I know I love Saints Row 3. So, like, I was kind of wanted to check that out. But then I also, because I'm on the Insider Ring, for the Xbox Insider program on the Alpha Ring, a lot of the game DVR functionality just doesn't work anymore. 4K or 1080p. Like, you can't capture anything. So, which is why I'm rerunning the Doom Eternal footage that I think I used in the show a couple months ago because I couldn't capture any footage from the game DVR. So it's just like, what is going on? Anyways, so basically what I did is I binged the show, which I want to recommend to anybody who is watching right now. Ozark on Netflix.
Ozark?
Yeah.
What is that?
Ozark is basically kind of the new Breaking Bad. It's got Jason Bateman in it. It's absolutely amazing. I watched like all 3 seasons. Really, like, I just couldn't stop watching it, man. Sometimes I get in those moods where like I just kind of want to watch a show, and I had never watched Ozark before, and I just kind of
What's it
like.
about?
It's a essentially a Jason Bateman is a money launderer for a Mexican cartel, and things go wrong. Suffice to say, things go very wrong, and it's season 3 just came out a couple months ago, and I'd never seen the show, so I binged all 3 seasons, and what, like, oh my god, what an amazing show. It's season 3 was fantastic, and man, the ending was just complete fire. Now you have to wait probably 2 years until Ozark season 4 comes out, man. Like,
Is it a Netflix original?
yes, it's a Netflix original, yeah.
Okay, cool. A lot of times, like when Americans recommend stuff on Netflix, it just ain't there for Europe for whatever reason. So, but like the Netflix originals are always there, which is great.
Yeah, it is so good. It's kind of it's people compare it to Breaking Bad, which it is, because it's kind of like, you know, like it's a guy you root for, but he's kind of doing bad things and not really, you know, like money laundering for a cartel is not exactly what you would call upstanding citizenship, but like it's just so well done, and everybody does such a great job, and like I was just like, you know what, who needs video games like right now? Like I'm kind of just sitting here waiting for Last of Us Part 2 to come out. Because, man, that game looks incredible. And, like, it's been a long time since we had a proper, what would it call it, stealth game? And that's what, like, Last of Us 2 is, really, at its core. Is it really seems like this is it's a stealth game. And, you know me, I love my stealth, right? Sam Fisher and everything. So, I feel like I'm kind of just waiting for the next 14 days to go by until I can actually sit down and play through Last of Us Part 2. So that's what I did. I watched Ozark.
When does Last of Us come out? Sorry,
I believe it comes out the 19th, and reviews will be hitting a week from now. Because, you know, Sony gave reviewers 3 weeks to play through the game, Jazz, not 2 days like Minecraft Dungeons.
Yeah, that game came in hot, man. We talked about that last week, I think.
Yeah.
It still hasn't had a patch yet. It's like, I kind of feel like there's some developmental problems with the game where the game's organized, maybe with COVID and stuff like that, maybe impacting development. Because I would have thought we'd have seen a patch by now, and we haven't.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
All right, so that's basically it. Like I said, it would be shorter this week compared to last week because I didn't play anything, but that'll definitely change for this upcoming week. There's a few games I do want to get rid of my backlog that are installed on my SSD that I kind of just want to delete. So, yeah, hit the like button, guys. Share this out. We're going to be talking about... I want to start with the Sega stuff because we talked about it a little bit on the last show because it kind of... I don't want to say like broke during the show or like kind of the day before where that journalist at Famitsu was talking up really hyping up his story about, oh, it's a PS5 level announcement and it's revolutionary, and it got, everybody was like, what could it be? Did Xbox buy Sega? Are they partnering with Sega? Does Sony buy them? And then there was that whole ridiculous rumor about how this Xbox Series X was going to be rebranded in Japan to be called the Sega Series X. And, well, suffice to say, the announcement that happened didn't... Well, I mean... Yeah, it wasn't that. And in fact, that had nothing to do with Microsoft or Sony or Nintendo. and it was the Game Gear. So they announced the Game Gear Micro, which looks like something. It's so small. I don't know how anybody is going to use that thing, right? And there's only like 4 games on each one of the consoles. So if you want all 20, you have to buy all 4 different variations of it, which is absurd.
Sega crazy.
Like it's absurd.
That's like so mean because you're basically milking. That is the milking of your fans, basically. To do it in that way, why couldn't they have like done it via SD cartridges or something at least? But I suppose it depends on the price. But then again, who wants 4 mini consoles just to get all the games you want? It's such a dumb way of doing it, but you know. But they also announced that fog computing.
Yes,
I still don't understand.
I guess it uses the arcade machines, and they uses their CPU and GPU to do cloud gaming over there. I haven't really read much on it, but like once the announcements came out that was that's what it was. It was like, come on, like, I mean. And then the funny thing is I, like browsing Twitter, people are like, oh, Xbox fans take another L. They were expecting Sega Series X. It's like, who was expecting Sega Series X? Certainly nobody with the brain was. You know what I mean?
Like, even if it was going to be a Sega Series X, like, how does that benefit anyone, really? Except for, like, maybe Microsoft in Japan. And that was, like, such a strange thing to even consider. But I suppose people associate Xbox with Dreamcast a little bit purely because of the operating system on the Dreamcast. What was it, Windows CE or something?
Yeah, it ran Windows CE. I mean, some people even think of the OG Xbox as like the Dreamcast 2 in a way.
You know, my first ever email address, the first email address I ever had was on the Dreamcast. Like, because you, when you if you plug that thing into your router, well, I didn't even have a router. It just went straight into the modem back then. If you plug that thing into your modem, it was like, yeah, you can make an email address. Like, it was something like at sega-europe.dreamcast.co.uk, something ridiculous, some massive long domain if you were in Britain. And I remember going to school and being like, God, I would have been like maybe 10 or 11 or something. And I went to school like, hey, has anyone got an email address? And people like calling me a nerd and shit for an email address. Oh, man. Those were the days, Rand.
Those were the days. So this should, next time you hear a journalist talking about how revolutionary a scoop is and, how it's on the level of a PS5 reveal announcement and stuff, just keep in mind what this writer did. Now, granted, maybe this is big in the Japanese market. Maybe cloud gaming will be big there. Maybe people will buy the Sega, the Game Gear Micro. But I don't see how any of those announcements are revolutionary or on the scale of a PS5, like the first PS5, Wired article. Like,
I need to ask like a Japanese friend about this because I don't know if like maybe arcade machines are just still pretty popular in Japan or something because they don't exist in the UK. They just straight up don't exist. Like I haven't seen an arcade machine in the UK for maybe decades. I think there was like my local cinema, which hasn't been renovated since the 80s. They have like a Time Crisis arcade machine, and it's been there for like 20 years or something ridiculous. So like I just don't know, but maybe Japan likes arcade machines and it could do something there. I don't know. But Microsoft made that Halo arcade machine. Remember that?
Yes, they did. They made it in like what was it exclusive to like what was the chain of like arcade like Bruce something with the B like something, or was it Dave and Buster's or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I was
Dave
gonna
and
say
Buster's.
Barnes Noble, but isn't that a bookshop or something?
Yeah.
But I had this crazy theory. You know my crazy theories that because it was an on rail shooter, right? That Halo game. I had a theory that they were going to bring it to VR because like on-rail shooters work in VR, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they never did. They literally made a game just for arcades, which is so strange to me. Like, I'm hoping that the arcade company basically just paid for everything and they just purchased the license, because otherwise that just seems like a strange use of resources otherwise.
Yeah. So that's the Sega rumor, and well, next up I wanted to talk about Jez's breakout YouTube video. Well, what are you at? Like 50,000 views on this?
50,000 views.
50,000 views on the brand new Xbox store. That's right, a new Xbox store that Jez got access to through special means.
Nefarious means.
Was able to post a video.
I have to say, like, before we talk about it, Brad Sams was actually first.
Yeah.
Like, he beat me by, I don't know, maybe an hour or something. I was like, yeah, finally, because I hadn't had a big, decent exclusive for a while. I was like, yeah, finally, and I'm like editing this video as fast as I can, and Adobe's giving me all these issues and crashing and stuff. And I'm panicking trying to get this up because I figured, like, the way I got it, I was figuring like it won't be long until Brad has it, or someone else has it, like Tom Warren or something. And lo and behold, when I upload the video, it's like right there in recommended videos, Brad Sams hands on with the new Xbox store. It's like, no, but you know, you win some, you lose some, eh?
Mm-hmm.
But it's awesome to see the support on that video. I really appreciate it to everyone who watched that. But dude, that UI is smooth.
I mean, I even made a video about your video.
I did. I watched.
Well,
it.
you told me to make the video about your video. You're like, you need to make a video about this. And I'm like, sure, because that's one of the things Xbox really did need to do was change the store, because I don't know, it doesn't run very well. And watching, like, since you actually got to use it, what do you think about the new store and how everything's laid out in the performance wise?
Actually, I didn't get to use it myself.
Oh.
It was my colleague Zach Bowden basically recorded it and streamed it for me, because the way we did it was you had to have a Windows PC in developer mode, and I didn't want to set my own PC in developer mode, but Zach has like 50,000 PCs, so he just set one of his PCs in developer mode and then loaded it up, and then we had to look at it for ourselves. And also, like, took some questions on it recently, because there was a few things that people asked me about it, like, does it have language support? Are backwards compatible games in there? What's the name of the store? Is it still called Xbox Store, or is it called something else? Is it still called Microsoft Store, or is it called something else, and stuff like that? But he said that it was, like, super smooth, but then again, it would be, wouldn't it? Because it's running on a PC. However, I've heard that it runs pretty smoothly on Xbox as well. And the performance, what we saw in the video, should be comparable to how it runs on an Xbox as well, which is nice to hear. It's designed for 4K scaling, so if the Xbox Series X, has a 4K dashboard, which I presume it does, then it will look really nice and crisp on that display. As of writing, or as of talking, I should say, it doesn't have any backwards compatible games in there, and I think that's because purely because the database isn't connected to it. Like, you can find the store listing, but all the buy buttons are blank, and I think that's just because the database isn't connected there. And I say that because somebody asked me if they're finally going to bring the backwards compatible games over to the new database, because when you buy a game on backwards compatibility, it basically links you out to a different store.
Mm-hmm.
That's just because of the way the databases are made up and stuff like that. I don't think that's going to change. I think that's still going to be, all those games are still going to be on the old database. So there might be like, they might be on something else. So they might just use a separate system or whatever. But and also we couldn't see what the name of the store is, because it's just called, the app's just called Mercury, codename Mercury or whatever. I think it would still be called the Microsoft Store, but it looks so much better than the PC Microsoft Store. Like, it's a joke how much better it looks than the actual PC store. It's almost you know.
Well, maybe it'll be for both. Maybe it'll be the new store on the Xbox and then also the new store on PC.
I
You doubt it?
don't have any. I don't have any indication that's the case right now. It may be the case, but I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, when do you think it'll show up? I mean, basically Microsoft leaked this themselves, right? It showed up as like a download in like the alpha ring in the insider program, right? Like it just kind of showed up. People were like,
Yeah,
"What the hell is this Mercury thing?" And
yeah. They
then
turned it on early, and I think Tom Warren speculated that it might be xCloud related because of the logo. Kind of looked spacey, and xCloud has a lot of space iconography in its app. And I asked around and found out that Mercury was like a big store update, nothing to do with xCloud. And then, as it turns out, it's pretty. Like, first of all, I heard that the design was the same, but I think that was whoever looked past the splash screen on the Xbox console, because when they accidentally posted it to the Alpha Ring, right? It was like it was accidentally leaked by Microsoft themselves, but it only had a splash screen on the Alpha Ring. Like there was no actual update in there, and it was the people who found it was a Russian Windows community site called Win Community on Twitter. They were the ones who found it first before even Brad, and however they got it must have been through Microsoft accidentally posting it early, because we found the store listing and presumably there are ways to get around their lockdown and stuff like that. I don't know, but yeah, we got our hands on it. And it's pretty damn awesome. Don't know when it's coming because there are all kinds of delays and stuff going on right now because of coronavirus. All of them are still working from home. So, you know, I already know a bunch of stuff that's been delayed because of coronavirus, and roadmaps have been altered and stuff like that. But it does seem pretty fully featured.
it does.
You know?
That's one thing I noticed was like it almost looked it could be ready for being pushed out to testing on the insider ring.
But the thing is, it's like I say, the backwards compatibility store isn't plugged in yet, which makes me think that like maybe they've got to do some database magic before they release it, because because it's a store, it's a very, you know, it's a critical app to the user experience. So even like if you're on the alpha skip ahead ring, you want the store to be working properly before you start testing it. So I think they'll make sure that it's as close to being shippable as possible before they give it to testers. So maybe even June's too early to say. I would have presumed as well that this will be part of the June platform showcase if that goes ahead. But I don't know. It could be July before we see this hit any of the rings. But yeah, it looks pretty close to being ready anyway. And it looks awesome. It runs awesome. Fluent design, lots of nice animations. It just looks great. It looks so much better than what we've had to put up with. And you know, it looks way better than the PC store.
Yeah, I was struck by how much better it looked and how much better it performed. Like, I would probably turn off the trailers because I noticed when you scrolled over the boxes, it would automatically start a trailer for it. I would like the option to, you know, turn that off. But other than that, like, it looked like an absolutely huge improvement over the current store. I got to give a shout out to Shinsia. I hope I said that right for the super chat, and he says, keep it up. We definitely will. But you mentioned the Xbox Series X June event. Jeff Grubb, who's been mostly right about everything he kind of talks about, he's been kind of keeping a list of summer events, and he originally kind of had the Xbox June event penciled in for June 10th, but it's no longer there. So when do you think, and maybe event is a too strong of a word there, because we don't really know if it's event like May's thing was inside Xbox and the July thing is the first party, third party, like E3 replacement. The June thing could just be a collection of maybe videos or demos or Xbox Wired articles. You know, we don't really know what it could be, but it does seem like, at least according to him, that it is no longer happening next week. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think like Microsoft had a total full-blown media blackout this week because of in respect to the protests in the US. Which is totally the right thing to do. There are, way more important things to be talking about right now than marketing some console features. But in any case, I believe that I don't think it'll be necessarily a big showcase event. I think it might just be a sort of maybe at most a collection of videos or posts or press releases about platform updates that are coming. Stuff like the new store maybe will be part of that. But also, Rand, I had another little mini scoop today
Ooh, a
because
mini scoop. Good.
a mini scoop, a
I
mini
like them
scoop,
scoops. Yeah.
a mini scoop. I saw that the Xbox store on PC, the new one, the Xbox Beta app, it's called. Got a big update today. It's been switched over to React Native as its architecture, which I don't know, doesn't feel like a massive performance boost, but it probably could use some performance enhancements. But I suppose it's the first version or whatever. But it got some design tweaks, like you can get to your Game Pass perks more quickly on the home screen now, which says to me they're gonna be pushing Game Pass perks a little bit more in the future. There's not that many right now. I think there's some for Smite and World of Tanks and some other games, but Sea of Thieves as well. I think you can get some Ori and the Blind Forest livery for your ship
Mm-hmm.
through Game Pass perks. But they put those front and center in the PC app, so I think they're probably going to be bringing more to it. And also the sidebar got some acrylic fluent design blur going on. But the big thing was they've started putting the first architectural things in place to bring mods to Windows 10 PC games that are from Microsoft Store. So not many games support it right now, but if you install a game like State of Decay 2 on PC or Into the Breach, you can decrypt the files and expose them like you would a regular Win32 game. So games from the Microsoft Store are typically encrypted for security, but you can basically opt in to have those files decrypted so you can have mod support. And it's really funny actually. Like on Steam, when you want to enable mods, it's just literally a case of going on Steam Workshop and clicking on something. But when you enable mods on the Xbox Store, there's like a big warning box that comes up, and it's like Microsoft accepts no liability for any weird mods that people upload. Mods could severely impact your gameplay experience. They may contain offensive content. We accept no responsibility for this. Like Microsoft's lawyers are like super paranoid or something because they've made Xbox put in like all these sort of disclaimers. If you enable mods, like your house is going to catch fire.
Well, they don't want to be in trouble in case something happens.
Yeah, I guess so. But like, it's funny just how Steam doesn't care. And Microsoft's like, by the way, here's all these warnings. This is what happens if you click this button. Are you sure you want to click this button and enable mods? But once you do click the button and accept it, then you enable mod support, and it gives you access to the file structure of the game, and then you can literally just mod the game like as you would like any PC game. I didn't try it out for myself because I didn't want to bother looking for an Into the Breach or State of Decay 2 mod. There's not that many of them anyway, from what I could see, but it's like the first step towards proper mods on Windows 10 PC for Game Pass games and stuff like that. And who knows, maybe it could come to Xbox in the future. Like it could be part of a wider effort to sort of unify what you get on PC and what you get on Xbox. Just don't know yet. I suppose it's something I could ask Microsoft in the future when they start talking marketing stuff again. But yeah, as for the June event, I think like we'll probably find out next week when the real date is. If Microsoft starts talking to press again, I expect Jeff Grubb or someone else will probably find out information about when that's going to happen. But yeah, I'm not expecting like massive news. Probably the massive news was the store redesign. But there's a small chance Microsoft talks dashboards, because honestly, if they're converting all the fonts and all the iconography in the store on the Xbox Series X, they need to update the dashboard, because the dashboard has a completely different style to
It
the
sure
new store
does.
app.
But the thing is, it's like the dashboard, they've been tweaking it for this current one for what seems like almost over a year now. And they added some new things, and they're going to all this trouble to, optimize this current dashboard, that it makes you wonder, like, well, if that's the case, they're probably just going to use it for the next system, which is a bit disappointing because usually with the brand new system, especially on a new generation, you always kind of expect maybe a new user interface to give it that little, that like, new car smell, right? When you get into a new car, you get that new car smell. And
I can pretty much confirm that they're going to have the same dashboard. I think like the Xbox Series X is going to have 4K dashboard.
Right, because I think this
one console doesn't, right? It's 1080p.
I'm not sure. I don't want to say either way.
I'm honestly not sure about that. But I know that for example, the Xbox, the new store app is designed for 4K and 1080p. So that would suggest to me that.
But then again, but you didn't. None of us expected them to redesign the store like they did, though.
I don't know.
Maybe you did expect it and you just didn't tell me about it.
Well, I thought it was kind of obvious. Like they got like completely. If you look at like Xbox Game Bar, the xCloud app, and the Xbox app for PC, they've got new fonts. They've got new design language. It's like an updated version of, the design language based on the Fluent iconography that they've been doing in Windows 10. It's obvious it was obvious to me that they were gonna switch everything over to this new format, because why wouldn't they?
Yeah,
they're going through this trouble to add new design. Oh, and by the way, I'll leak it here right now. There's a new app for iOS and Android coming as well.
Oh, the new phone stuff. Great. Sin Vendetta, he says Random Jazz, Bloodborne Remastered is rumored coming to PC, PS5 and PC. Do you guys know if there's any truth to this? Oh, he's cutting right down to the chase. Not even letting us build up to that stuff. Bloodborne. Yeah, you know what? We'll talk about that next, Sin. We'll finish talking up about the new store and the June event. I don't know when the June event's going to be. I don't even know if it's an event. Like Jez says, maybe they announce it sometime next week. It's definitely not going to be next week. As for the store, it looks great. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Make sure you watch Jez's video or watch mine or watch both and subscribe and all that good stuff. Because the current one is a little bit slow. It's a little bit clunky. I don't really like it. And my first kind of initial impression watching your video was like, that's a good looking store. It seems it seems to be much better. And then of course on top of that, it's like, well, if they're changing the store that way with all the different font and iconography, do they keep the same dashboard? Because Microsoft has been really changing a lot of things, and they've changed. Like, I don't know if you've got the new one, where basically like they show in the corner of the box art if you got it through like EA Access or Xbox Live Gold or Game Pass. They recently done that to those type of games. So it's gonna be it'll be like, I think you might be right. Maybe they show that at this June thing, show, whatever you want to call it. But Luca, I talked to Luca the other day on the phone. We had a great conversation. She says, played Bloodborne or blocked Rand. Mean face.
Wow.
Also, hello, Jez.
Wow.
Luca, I don't know if you know this. I already beat Bloodborne. I actually streamed it twice on this channel. It was easy peasy. So, okay. So, I beat Sekiro. I played Sekiro first. And Sekiro was pretty tough in some spots. I ain't gonna lie. There were some boss fights, especially in the beginning, that took me hours to beat, but I loved it. In fact, it was my game of the year of 2019. And then I went back, I think sometime after Sekiro, so I think in June of last year, I went back and I played Bloodborne, Luca, and I beat Bloodborne. And I don't know, it was pretty ezy. So, definitely, I'm not going to say it was easy, but
look at Rand here, like full blown.
I mean, it was easy. It was easy. It was easy compared to Sekiro. Like, there was no contest. The game was just easier.
With Sekiro, I just I got through like part of the first level, and I just thought I'm too old for this shit. I ain't got the patience for this.
Yeah.
So maybe I would have the patience for Bloodborne then if you say it's easier.
Well, I mean, it's definitely easier compared to Sekiro. So I mean, like, if you play that one first and you kind of, I don't know. It was a good game though. It was a good game. So yeah, the big rumors today. You see it all over Twitter. Bloodborne remaster. So supposedly coming to the PS5 and the PC. I know. Actually did have a lot of people hit me up because of my Horizon thing. You remember when I said Horizon Zero Dawn was coming to PC, Jez? And people didn't want to believe me. And I said, no, just wait. It's only a matter of time. And they're like, ha, it's never going to happen. It's on PlayStation now, Rand. Don't worry. Just wait. And then eventually it got announced. And they made all these, like, oh, well, don't worry, Sony PlayStation fans. There's just one AAA game going to PC, right? And I said, he's just saying that, right? So what I'll say about it is, like, normally when I hear things from people, I normally don't ever like to just kind of go out and say they're happening. I don't like to be used as a source. And I've even seen people recently misquote me on certain things I've said, right? Do you remember, like, months ago, Jasmine, you talked about the idea of, like, Xbox Series X potentially launching in September?
Yeah, we talked about that.
We talked about that because it was something both me and you heard. I made a video saying that, like, basically reiterating that, but more or less saying, like, it's possible it's coming in October, but I don't really know. Because I don't know what changed after, the virus. But it was definitely, the plan definitely was at one point before all this stuff, like, yeah, it was supposed to come early, right? So, like, there's some people that, like, kind of quoted what I said. So it's like, I don't really like saying what I know on Twitter for all that stuff, right? So I just kind of be silent. But the Bloodborne thing, well, here's what I say. Like, the thing with Horizon was I had heard from so many people that I felt so confident that it was happening that I was okay with saying it. Like the Bloodborne thing, and I always did mention that I had heard talking to other people, like the other two games that I had heard alongside Horizon were like Gravity Rush 2 and The Last Guardian, right? And yeah, there were whispers about, someone would say Bloodborne, somebody would say God of War, blah, 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 blah. But it wasn't enough people. Because I like to hear from at least 3 or 4 people before it's kind of like, okay, something's really, really going on, right? But, I mean, like recently, more and more people are kind of coming to me and telling me about Bloodborne. But I'm not too surprised if it does happen. Because, as I've said before, I think all of Sony's games are going to PC. I mean, I've been told that's the goal. I mean, basically almost all their games will come to PC. Now, their PS5 games won't come to PC day one. Those will be years removed, like Horizon Zero Dawn 2 and all that stuff. They'll be a year or two later. But, like, the idea basically is, yeah, you know what? Yeah, it's probably going to come to PC. So I have heard it from a couple people that I do trust, but not enough people to say definitively that it is coming. But it is something that has been rumored. But I'm not in that position where like I said, I've heard it from enough people to say, yeah, it's definitely happening like I was with Horizon. Interestingly though, that it would be coming, because this is where the remaster comes in here, Jez. And maybe this makes a little bit more sense why Xbox has been very much pounding the pavement regarding smart delivery. About the idea of you buy a game and whatever system you're playing on, you'll get that version of the game. And we Assassin's Creed Valhalla is using it, Cyberpunk is using it, and that Xbox Game Studios is using it. And you hear about a Bloodborne remaster, 60 frames, new textures, fast loading on PC and PS5. And the interesting thing I think about is, would Sony would Sony charge for that game again? Very much like how they charge with Last of Us Remastered, or potentially what would be another game like the Uncharted, Nathan Drake collection, or would it be like, hey, you already own Bloodborne on the PS4, you just get this version for free?
Well, this is the thing, right? It makes Sony look bad if they sell that game again.
Does it though? Does it?
Well. Let me finish. Right?
Okay.
It could potentially make Sony look bad if they're selling a game again, and all they've done is sort of upscaled it, and basically done the stuff that Microsoft's going to give you for free with smart delivery, right? But the truth is that Microsoft has architected their consoles to be scalable, whereas PS4 and PS5 aren't directly compatible with each other. Otherwise, we'd be seeing backwards compatibility on the same scale that Microsoft's giving with the Xbox Series X. So when they talk about remastering a game like Bloodborne, it's probably more than just because I've complained before in the past about how like if EA sell remasters on PC, all they've done is tweak a config file and then just put it there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like for a more recent game. But when it comes to things like Bloodborne, they're basically switching the architecture around to something else, and there's probably more work involved. So to be fair to Sony, there's probably like more of a reason to want to recoup costs with something like that. Just to play devil's advocate, because obviously I don't know for sure how much work would realistically go into that, and whether they're just nickel and diming people, I don't know for sure. But I would say if Sony sold a PS5 version of a PS4 game that had been, really seriously remastered and stuff like that, it's going to be more than just, a port. It'd be like architectural things that have had to change to make that happen. So I don't know. I kind of feel like it's almost more fair in a way, but maybe that's me being naive. I don't know.
Yeah. I really am interested in seeing how the that whole crossplay situation plays out with PlayStation, because part of me we talked a little bit about this last week, was with the whole marketing thing where you market your strongest position and you downplay the things that you aren't very high on, and you can definitely see Xbox really going heavy into backwards compatibility and smart delivery. And then you really see PlayStation, well, Xbox also is really going heavily into the most powerful console, because those are their strengths, right? And you see PlayStation really kind of go heavy marketing into the idea of we have exclusives for the PS5. We have games that will only be on the PS5 that will take advantage of the new hardware. You don't really see them talking too much about back compat, and you don't really see them talking at all about any of their plans about cross-buy. And it makes me kind of wonder if Xbox is hammering home the point about smart delivery because they know through contacts or they know through developers and stuff like that there is nothing on that on PlayStation side, so they're going to nail that. I'm not sure, but it's definitely here's the thing. When Xbox talked about back compat, all these games, you can play them and all that stuff, I did see a lot of PlayStation fans and come out and say, hey, you know what? I don't buy a new console to play old games. But man, there are definitely a lot of people on Twitter extremely happy about rebuying Bloodborne on the PlayStation 5 though. It's just one. I mean, Bloodborne, it's a great game, and it would definitely run better and be a much better experience at 60 frames per second, no doubt about it. Because the frame rate in that game, even though I played it on the PS4 Pro, is not good whatsoever, right? And it probably would sell a ton. Like, Bloodborne is a game that sold quite a lot of copies. Obviously, if you can get that out around launch, a lot of people would rebuy it, even though potentially, I'm very curious to see how this all plays out. What their philosophy is, because even EA, I don't know if you saw this today, but EA talked about how they're extending their Xbox Series X free upgrade for up to a full year. Do you see this, Jez? Because
No,
they
I didn't.
canceled their thing they were supposed to do this week. And previously it was like you had to buy the game I think by the end of 2020, and then you had to upgrade to Series X by like March of 2021. But now they said that offer is extended all the way until Madden 22 comes out, and they're calling it dual entitlements. So the idea of like, you know, you buy one game, you get the other version for free.
EA can just do one, man. That's just so dumb and so cheap. Like, there's literally no justification for that whatsoever. They are just so cheap and so lame, and EA can bite me on that. That is just dumb.
I gotta give a shout out to the one and only Darge Knight, who says, just stopping by to show my support for quality content and not clout chasing losers with sock accounts. Hashtag stay salt free. Hashtag Mr. Twister. I don't know, Mr. Twister. What the heck's Mr. Twister? Anyways, thanks for the support, Darge. Appreciate it.
I like Twister.
Yeah, so since we're talking about Bloodborne, they also kind of mentioned a lot of other PlayStation 4 games will come into PC. Like I mentioned, I've been told that that's the plan. Like, you could expect all the PlayStation games to head to PC eventually in time. That, you know, there's different management at PlayStation than the previous one. So, yeah, I don't know what else to really say about that. That's kind of what's happening. And PlayStation also had to delay their event, Jez, which I don't know if you saw, but did you see the crap Push Square got in by with the article they wrote about it yesterday?
No, what did they write?
They wrote this stupid article about how today was supposed to be the day we would see the PS5, but alas, it's not.
Oh god.
Like, it was like one of the most tone deaf articles I've seen in a long time.
And I get called a fanboy.
Oh, well, I mean, Push Square, they literally named their website after the button on the PlayStation controller.
Well, that's the thing. It's like Windows. People say Windows Central, like they won't give Microsoft a fair shake because we're named after Windows and stuff like that. But man, no, we just like watch Microsoft. It's like I don't think any website gives Microsoft as much shit as we do. Like, genuinely. Like, if you go and look at some of our articles, like Zach put out an article today, another article flaming the Microsoft store because because he saw like the store that Xbox is getting, and Zach is in charge of the Windows content at Windows Central, and he's like, what the hell is this? Why is Xbox getting a better store than Windows? So he's like super mad about that, you know. But that is just like the most tone deaf, ridiculous thing. Like, gaming's awesome, but sometimes you have to take a step back and like read the room and like get some perspective. There are things happening in the world that's just so much more important right now.
So when do you think they're going to reschedule the PS5 event for? When do you think they'll have it this week? You think they announce it
I
Wednesday?
think they've said they're gonna announce when they're gonna bring it back, right? I don't know.
You think they'll announce they're bringing it back next week and then have it the week after?
Well, I don't know. I suppose it depends. You know, I think it depends on whether it's appropriate. Ultimately, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. Things could get worse. You know, it's not a case of let's wait till things die down or whatever. Something has to change. Something has to be done tangibly before we should collectively even begin to start thinking about moving on from this conversation. So, like, one of the things I struggle with this whole thing is like the concept of outlets using it to sort of make themselves look good and stuff like that. And I think it's super important that everyone stands up and expresses their solidarity with Black Lives Matter, because it's super important. it's not just important, it's everything. Human rights are everything. They are literally everything. So it goes beyond that. But there's this awful sort of sense that there are people sitting in boardrooms thinking about, so when is it appropriate that we start marketing things again?
Yeah, I know, right?
It's so strange to think about, like, given what's happening and given what's, re- really something that collectively as a society we have to fucking solve. We have to fucking solve it collectively as a society. How do you even begin to approach the idea of starting to market your toys again, basically? So, how can you even begin to talk about that topic? I don't even know. Man.
I mean,
It pisses me off.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't really know myself either, and that's why I was curious because, I mean, obviously Sony's going to have to do this at some point, outside of like the fact that like of what's going on in the world, like you mentioned, right? Like they got a console to sell, and at the end of the day, like me and Jazz have always said in this podcast, corporations aren't your friends.
No,
At all. Like, sure, some of the employees at these corporations do care a lot, like, and they're all for it. But the corporation itself, they're only out for one thing, and that's your money. And
I saw some great quotes, like, because like Disney came out this week and they were like, we support John Boyega, who said like loads of amazing stuff about Black Lives Matter this week. And then people were like, oh, you didn't care about him when you removed his image from the Chinese posters of the movie and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like that it comes to a point where the only color that matters is the green, That's that it comes to that point. And that's another part of this whole sort of system that has to be broken down and changed. But I'm not here to claim that we have the answers, because I definitely don't.
I mean,
I'm just sort of trying to learn right now.
I more asked the question and like the idea of like, when do you think, like obviously like it's a sensitive subject and who knows, but like if you're Sony and you're in the boardroom and you're trying and you need to go out there and you need to talk about this console because you need to sell at the end of the year. Like, at some point, It doesn't really matter what's going on in the world. You need to do what you need to do, right? As the company.
Yeah. This has been a crazy, unprecedented year. Like, I don't remember a year that had been this crazy.
It'll go down in the history books. And when because I had a great conversation with my buddy Gopher about this. And he was like, in like 15 years when my son asked me, Dad, what were you doing during 2020? He was like, I was dropping every night with the boys in Verdansk, which is the town in like Modern Warfare, right? God. I would imagine, Destiny has an event this week, Bungie, for Destiny 2, talking about their future and I think their expansion at the end of the year. They have that on Tuesday. So they announced it yesterday. I would imagine that probably still goes on unless like, even more crazy stuff happens in Seattle. And then maybe Sony is kind of viewing how that is viewed by people to properly gauge when they should announce their event. Because you think about it, Last of Us Part 2 comes out in 2 weeks. It comes out the 19th.
Yeah.
So do you want to hold the event? I mean, maybe you just hold the event to the 18th. Have like the PS5 event the day before the launch of The Last of Us 2, which probably is going to end up being the game of the year. It would be an incredible week for PlayStation. It would be all this market, like not only all the marketing for Last of Us 2, but then also like all the the PlayStation 5 reveal event. So I mean, the thing is, people are probably getting paid to plan, to plan all this out. So
yeah, I suppose like. I mean, it's Microsoft too. It's like, when do they start talking about their stuff again as well? Because, they presumably they would have had a press release for the modding thing that I found today, and presumably they would have had like, they might have said something about the Xbox Store leaks in other circumstances. It's like, When is it appropriate? You know.
Yeah. Would you?
I wouldn't want to even be in the position to have to think about that stuff.
Did you see that? I'm sure you did because I know how much you love Bethesda. But did you see that screenshot of all the Bethesda PR accounts that changed their Twitter account to the Pride, the Pride icon with the rainbows and stuff?
I didn't.
Except the one in the Bethesda Middle East and Bethesda Russia. They
Oh,
made it the same. So I'm saying like corporations aren't your buddies.
no.
They like they're out for your money, and a lot of the platitudes that you see pasted by a lot of the companies, I are kind of, I don't know.
Performative is the word.
Yeah.
Like a
And
lot of them
while
are
I truly
performing.
believe like people like Phil Spencer and people at Xbox and PlayStation and like truly believe in a lot of like the stuff that's going on, I don't believe for a single second that the corporation does. I think it's like they basically came down to the idea of like we can support this and potentially look good and make money or not. And I think they all just decided that this was the way to do it. And I know that sounds horrible, but I think that's the truth of the situation.
I mean, it goes deeper than this. This is the dehumanizing effect of capitalism in general. If it's someone's job to decide when to start being appropriate again, like they have to do that job in order to feed their family, and it's like a dehumanizing job almost. Like I'm not trying to excuse anyone of being an asshole, but that's just the dehumanizing effect of capitalism. It's like one of the big flaws, and like it goes both ways too. Like the pursuit of money can lead to amazing innovation, which is why we see like often in communist countries you don't get that innovation that capitalism brings because there's no competition, because everything's a flat system, and it's open to abuse and corruption and all that sort of stuff. Like no system is perfect by any means, but that is like just part of the dehumanizing, the creeping dehumanization that comes with the pursuit of money, right?
Yeah.
No matter what system you subscribe to, you know. And I ain't picking sides or anything. I ain't like saying, oh, communism's amazing, because it ain't. You know, I got family from Eastern Europe. I got family who fled the Russians, you know, the USSR, and stuff like that, um, back in the day. So like, don't think I'm for communism, but you can't ignore that the issues that are right in front of your face just because you want to pick a side. You know,
Yeah.
there should be one side that we're on, and that is the human side. But unfortunately, money creates this weird conflict where companies feel like they have to act a certain way in order to maximize their profit potential. And it's like it comes across in this sort of really fake, creepy, sort of hello, fellow kids kind of way, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
It's I don't know. I'm getting deep, and I haven't even had a drink.
I know you haven't even gotten drunk yet, so who knows what you would say and leak if you did. But got to give a shout out to Sean Murray. He says it's his first super chat. Well, thank you. And he goes, "Let's go." And smart delivery, all first party and most third party devs. Well, we definitely know it's all of Xbox first party. We only know for sure like Valhalla and Cyberpunk, although there were some other uh, games at the May event that did say smart delivery. So obviously, I think Xbox and the devs who are using it will definitely probably, when we get closer to launch, let us know. So there's that. Dan Becker says, hey, any idea what the Xbox June event will be about? Well, Jeff Grubb says it was supposed to be based around hardware. And whether or not that means, you know, a deeper look at Series X and what it can do, and maybe as Jez hypothesized, maybe a look at the new store that he put a video up about. But along that line, hardware and services. DJ Hero says, hey, Jez Store, the Xbox superhero team we always needed. Jez Store, it's a pretty good one. And Gunstar, shout out to you, buddy. He says, there are many reasons to dislike people. Skin pigmentation is really a stupid reason. That is definitely Yes.
Yeah.
Many different reasons to like people, but skin color shouldn't be one of them. Speaking of the June event, and I kind of wanted to briefly bring this up because it points to something greater. Hold on, Jez. Take a question really quick, okay?
Oh no!
Just take a
Rand
question.
abandoned me again.
Take a question.
Rand Al abandoned me. I think Rand's going to the bathroom, guys. I think that's what it is. But you know what? Like, everyone's getting political in the chat. So I hate talking, politics and economics and all that stuff. But what is important and what should always be talked about is human rights, because we're all human at the end of the day, And I think, like, I don't like talking about it because honestly, I'm dumb and ignorant, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. And all that any of us can do is sort of strive to improve ourselves and improve our learning and what we know about the world, and have empathy for people, have empathy for fellow our brothers and sisters, and figure out some kind of commonality. And someone in the chat said that we all bleed red, and there's nothing truer than that.
I like awkward Jez. Because,
Yeah,
maybe I just do that just to see you get all flustered. Be like, hey,
you do that to me, man. You spring that on me, and I have to like get all deep and shit. But
no, it's okay. It's okay.
That's the thing about all this stuff. Like, there's so much to be angry about, but we're also getting to see like the camaraderie and people rally around this cause, and it kind like some of the stuff that you see online, like it does kind of give you hope for humanity, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Drunken Ninja says, "Hey, Xbox June event date. Thanks, Jazz. Love the show." So he wants to know the date. Do you know the date, Jazz?
I don't know any dates.
You know any dates? Neither do I. I don't know anything. But before I quickly wanted to put Jez on the hot seat and get him thinking spontaneously. No, I just wanted to say I wanted to see what you would do. Leaving you vulnerable for 2 seconds there.
No, what did you do?
No, I
went to the bathroom or something.
No, I had to answer a question. But
okay.
So the Cyberpunk console, because this might tie into the June event, maybe potentially. Cyberpunk console's out, and you can get it for $299, Jazz. It's a pretty low price. You got to admit, for an Xbox One X limited edition console, it's $299. It's last
sold out.
Yeah, it's
already.
sold out. It's the last ever limited edition for Xbox One X. It's out right now. Sold out a bunch of different places. Game doesn't come out till September. And do you think... I guess I'll just ask this straight up. And then I know we've talked about this before. But is the Xbox One X being phased out in favor of the Xbox Lockhart, Jez? And is this further proof of that?
I don't know. I'm surprised how cheap it is, especially considering not only does it come with Cyberpunk, but it comes with Cyberpunk's first expansion too. Like, it comes with the expansion pass as well, and that is a good deal, man. And it's sold out already. That is like some crazy value right there.
Yeah, but Brian Hopkins, thanks for the super chat. And Beats Games Life and Zim wants to know why $299. Jazz, why $299? Like you said, limited edition, comes with the game, comes with the first expansion. Why so cheap, Jazz?
I think Microsoft. One thing we always talked about on the show is that it's not the console, it's the user, it's the install base. That's the important thing. And like we talked about, like xCloud and engagement, and Microsoft's key performance indicator, otherwise abbreviated to KPI. And like, I think, like, this is a term that gamers need to get more familiar with. Is a KPI, your key performance indicator, which is like the sort of metric you use to justify your company's growth to shareholders, basically, in Microsoft's case. And Microsoft's KPI for Xbox is effectively engagement. How many users on the platform? How many users subscribe to Game Pass? How many users are buying Xbox Live? And how many users are engaging in microtransactions and all that sort of stuff? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all about how many consoles are sold, because as long as they can get those users on PC or on mobile or anything, engagement is God. It's their only key performance indicator really right now, which is why as well that people laugh at like games like Gears Pop and Forza Street and stuff like that, but all that is contributing to that key performance indicator. And Forza Street's like did pretty well on Android. Like it's released on mobile now. It's not just on PC. It was always kind of dumb as a PC game, but it makes a lot more sense on mobile. Like where you can just play with one hand on the bus and maybe collect some cars or something like that. It's like one of those gacha games where you collect like anime girls and stuff like that. Have you seen those, Ran?
Yes, I've seen those. Yeah,
you've seen those.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's basically a gacha game with cars, which is like if you love cars, then maybe you'll love Forza Street on your phone. I don't know, but selling the console that cheap is all about. It's all about getting more users, I guess. And I suppose like they're fire sailing it because they want to shift people in that sort of bracket of $3.99. They're going to want them buying Lockhart, I think, because we presume that Lockhart's going to be $3.99, right?
Lockhart $3.99? No. No,
I mean $2.99.
I mean that's what I'm presuming.
Yeah, that's what I meant. $2.99.
Yeah,
sorry.
$2.99.
Cyberpunk's $2.99, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what I meant. $2.99. See, I get like confused with the because I have to write in so many different bloody currencies sometimes. But yeah, $2.99 is what I meant. So Lockhart effectively replaces that, but Forbes wrote that article, man. Does Lockhart even exist?
Paul Tassi wrote that article. Hey, man.
Does Lockhart even exist?
Does Lockhart even exist? Man, I wish I could say some of the stuff I know, but I can't.
Well, tell me.
Well, maybe I'll tell you later.
Well, I know it exists. I've never seen it. I've just seen it on marketing documents referred to. I've seen it in code strings in games and stuff like that. Like targeting versions, Lockhart and Anaconda and stuff like that. The code names of all the different consoles. Dante being the dev kit and stuff like that. I've seen it in the code. So like the thing exists. It's just so elusive. It's like the holy grail of leaks right now. Like, and I know Brad Sands is going to beat me to it. Like he beats me to everything. Damn you, Brad. Damn you, Brad. I'm upset.
The thing about this one is, Microsoft's been extremely quiet about it, but there's things that are, like, I think them basically moving out to Series X is as much as a indicator that something's coming to replace it at that price point than anything. Because if it was just the Series X coming in at $500, you could still sell the One X as the baseline at $300, and you could still essentially sell the One S at $200, and then the SAD at $150. But the SAD is what I like to call it. But since Lockhart is a way better machine, and the rumors always were $500 for one, $300 for the other, then like you could just stop production of the One X. And I always see, like, when I make that argument to people always say, like, there's no way they'll discontinue the One X. It hasn't even been out for 3 years yet, and I'm just like, well, they discontinued the OG Xbox One. That was only around for 3 years until the One S came out.
Do you know what the OG Xbox One is referred to in the code now?
It was originally Durango, was it not?
Yeah, Durango's the code name, but it's not. They refer to the original Xbox as Legacy now.
Oh, Legacy. Yeah, okay.
Because it has a slightly different clock rate to the regular S, which I didn't know. Did you know that?
Yeah, the One S is clocked a little bit higher. Yes.
Yeah. I didn't know that. So when developers like make a game for the base Xbox, they actually have to make a slightly tweaked version to account for the lower clock speed of the original legacy Xbox. Oh my god, you just got a fat donation, man.
Oh yeah, super chats rolling in. We got one from Sin Vendetta. When the Xbox Series X and S come out, the Xbox One S and S will be discontinued and not sold anymore. That's my opinion. That's a very good opinion, Mr. Vendetta. And we got one from Rubber Knob. Thank you very much, buddy. He says, if the Xbox One X can play games at 4K at 30 frames and some at 60 frames due to the massive CPU bottleneck, then why can't Lockhart run games in 4K, seeing as it has the same graphical power as the X and a 4 times better CPU plus the SSD and software upgrade? Well, I mean, the Xbox One X is playing current gen games at 4K. Whatever the One X can do, the Lockhart can do better. So if you're talking about like current gen games from this generation, well, yeah, Lockhart will definitely be able to run those games better. But I would assume moving into next gen with more demanding things that are like going to happen, that like if say for instance, let's just pick a random game, like say the new Batman game comes out, right? And the new Batman game is 4K 60 on Series X, but basically 1440p 60 on Lockhart. That game probably would only be able to do 1080p 30 on the One X, because it's just not as good as a machine. They'd have to scale it down in some manner. So
I saw I just slightly on topic, but also slightly off topic. I saw an amazing quote from, I think it was Reset Era, where someone had said, if PlayStation 5's SSD is so good, why does Sony even bother putting a GPU in that thing?
yeah, I saw that, the whole SSD stuff. The whole SSD
I hope
stuff.
it was a joke, but you never know these days.
Yeah. So yeah, no, like trust me, like the Lockhart would be a better machine. Anything the One X can do, it can do same and better. It's just obviously Microsoft needs to come out and talk about it. But Jez, there were some things me and you were talking about, and I did see you put up a poll, and maybe this has to do with Microsoft playing chicken with Sony. You put up a poll asking people what you thought the price of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X is. And it was like PS5 more expensive, Series X more expensive, or they're both the same price. And Mr. Paul Thurrott put up an interesting tweet saying that he was expecting the PS5 to be $600 and that Series X would be $500. What do you think about that, Jez?
I would be mind blown if the PS5 was $600.
Yeah, me too. I would be.
That
would be absurd if the if the PS5 ended up at $600 and the Series X ended up $500. Something really, 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 really went wrong with the PS5 development. Like ridiculously wrong. I just can't I just can't imagine that.
That would be pretty strange. Has a console ever been $600?
Yes, so a lot of people say like $599 for the PS3 is what killed it, right? But there was a cheaper version of the PS3 that was $499. It was the 20 gig SKU, and the 60 gig SKU was $599. But the only thing people remember about the PS3 was that it was $599. So yeah, and I think even like the Sega Saturn was quite expensive. I think there was even a system that was $800, but I'm not sure on the name. But yeah,
not one of those weird ones like the Spectrum or something. I can't remember.
I don't remember either. But either way, there's a long history of consoles that essentially do not sell very well over a certain price point. And even there's even like stats to say like even at $500, consoles don't sell particularly too well either. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I was just curious because like in that scenario, like if Microsoft is waiting for Sony and Sony's waiting for Microsoft, and the PlayStation 5 hypothetically, this isn't going to happen whatsoever. Let me reiterate that for you guys listening, this isn't going to happen. And if it does, something really went wrong. But let's just say for shits and giggles, the PS5 ended up at $600. And the Series X somehow was able to undercut it by $100, coming up with $5. Does Microsoft even bother with Lockhart at that point?
See, that's been something we've talked about before. Is Lockhart like a backup plan if the consoles are the same price, or in some crazy universe the Xbox Series X was more expensive? Because I remember back in the day, the general assumption was that the Xbox Series X was going to be the most expensive. Then you'd have PS5 in the middle, and then Lockhart on the most affordable end. That was like the prevailing assumption back in the day. But now it's pared back a bit because Sony's been really sort of, it's almost like they've been preparing people for a higher than expected price. Like they said in, I think was it GameIndustry.biz, where they were talking about how it'll be more expensive than people expect or something like that along those lines. Very, very loosely paraphrasing there. But I think some of these interviews where they've talked about delivering value in other ways as sort of got people, at least like Paul Thurrott and stuff, thinking that maybe the PlayStation 5 is going to be more expensive than people have initially expected. And in that universe, does Lockhart even make sense? Like if Microsoft can just be like, well, you want next gen, the cheapest, we've got this console. Do they even need Lockhart for that purpose? Now, personally for me, I think they should keep Lockhart anyway, because it's more endpoints at the end of the day, and it's more users, because not everyone can afford to buy that much of a console at launch, and a lot of people still don't have 4K TVs. Like the idea of a next gen 1080p console where things look really great is still going to be very attractive to a lot of people, especially gamers who game on monitors, who perhaps they don't even want the resolution. Maybe they just want the frame rates. Maybe they, choose a 120 hertz 1080p monitor instead and go for frame rates. I don't know. Like, there could be an advantage for Microsoft just to purely from an options basis, just to provide as many options as possible, as many price points as possible. And I know people hate this comparison, but that's what happens in the smartphone industry, right? Samsung hits every single price point you can imagine. Like they only talk about the Galaxy S flagships, but they have like the Galaxy A and like a bunch of other models that are designed for people who don't want a flagship phone. They just want something functional that works and maybe doesn't have all the bells and whistles. Maybe Xbox can succeed in that place where like a lot of other manufacturers have just decided, nah, we don't do multiple SKUs at launch because that's just not the way it's been done. Maybe it'll work. I don't know. But I'm rambling now. I think Lockhart should still come out either way, personally.
I mean, I think it's coming out regardless. They spent too much money into it, like, to basically pull it now. And I know you're always referring to the Surface phone or whatever, or Surface Mini, which was basically pulled last second, right before they announced it. I think I think we'll hear about it eventually. It's just a matter of when. And Jedi in the super chat says he believes that Xbox will reveal price first at $500. The PS5 will be $399 and Lockhart will be $299. I mean that could I think there's a more realistic chance the PS5 comes in at $400 than there's 0% chance the PS5 comes in at $600. I would say right now, there's a slight chance PS5 comes in at $400, but I don't give it that high of a chance. I think it's like 80-20. Like 80% PS5 coming in at $500 with the slight 20%, because you never know how Sony is going to react to that. Like they might need the PS5 to be $400.
I wonder if bookies I don't know if they do. Is gambling legal in America, or is it just legal in Las Vegas?
I don't gamble, so I don't really look into it. So I'm not really sure. I'm sure somebody in chat will let us know. I mean, you can gamble at casinos, obviously, right? And there's casinos in plenty of places that just aren't in Vegas. I don't know. I don't really know much about the gambling scene just because I'm not in it. Like I know a lot about the video game stuff. So someone in chat, let us know. I'm pretty sure gambling is legal in the United States. But I'm just not sure. I don't really
because like sometimes in the UK, gambling places let you gamble on basically anything, and sometimes they give like odds on random things, like the odds on this guy becoming prime minister, or the odds on like the royal's baby being a boy or something like that, and you can bet on that shit. So I was wondering if they were like giving odds on like the console prices or something like that.
A lot of people say it varies state by state, but online gambling is legal. So yeah. I don't know. I've never really placed a bet. Like I don't gamble.
Man,
So
it's like everyone in the UK gambles, like on football, well, soccer. They gamble on soccer, with their dollars.
hmm
Is that my American accent?
you need to work on that, buddy. You need
But
you need to work because that I don't know if you're trying to do like a Texas accent or something there, but it definitely sounded like you're trying to do
like
some
all
sort of.
Americans have the same accent,
No,
man.
we
Like,
definitely do not have all the same
you
accent.
totally do.
Are you
There's
so
only
you're
one.
saying you're trying to mock me right now and my accent?
Yeah. I thought I was doing an impression of you. Was that not perfectly? Was that not a perfect round impression? Oh, okay.
No, I don't think so. You didn't do anything that I would normally do.
What like mess up words?
I mean, I guess I do mess up words quite a bit.
Oh man.
I do. That is something. I really do. Like I mess up words a lot. Shout out to the Ravenflow. He says if the PS5 was arrogantly dropped to 600, I would clap for Microsoft dropping Lockhart myself. Yeah, I don't think you got to worry about PS5 being 600. It was just that Paul Thurrott tweet where he's like, yeah, it'll be 600. Like, man, like 600. Like what? Like I don't know. You know what the thing is? I would love for it to happen just to see people's reactions. Can you imagine? You're sitting down, you're watching the PS5 reveal. There's a new Ratchet and Clank. There's a new Demon Souls. There's a new Silent Hill. There's a new Bloodborne, Resident Evil 8, Call of Duty. Like maybe they even tease God of War and Spider-Man. You're so excited about the future of PlayStation. You're sitting there all pumped, and you're like, yes, we're in the pre-orders. And then Sony's like, Jim Ryan's like, yeah, the SSD is really revolutionary, and that's why we need to sell this system for $599. And then like nobody says anything. You can just hear crickets chirping. And then you just look on Twitter and everybody's just like $5.90, like they're going crazy, Man, like I would live for a reaction like that, but it's not gonna happen. Aaron Johnson says, "Hey, is the port of Outer Worlds to Switch is a good proof of concept how next gen games will port over to the OG Xbox One?" Yeah, Jez, did you see the comparisons of Switch on Outer Worlds on Switch? It did not look good whatsoever.
I feel bad for anyone getting the Outer Worlds on Switch. That looks so bad. Like, man, it was probably over ambitious of them to try and port that, because honestly, the performance wasn't that great on the Xbox itself. Like even on the Xbox One X, the performance wasn't that
it's
great.
It's definitely not even a looker on the One X.
Yeah, like. And to bring that down to Switch, it's not an open world game, but like the areas are pretty damn big and continuous. Like I'm frankly amazed they got it running at all. But that's what you get. Like when it comes to Switch ports, I really think with Switch, you have to make games for the Switch, except with the exception of games like maybe Minecraft, like and stuff like that. But honestly, even Minecraft Dungeons performs like crap on the Switch, man. Like playing single player, you get like stuttering, and even though like on single player, there's nowhere near as many mobs as if you're playing multiplayer. So if you're playing 4-player multiplayer on the Switch, and there's all those mobs on screen, I have no idea how badly that's going to run, because it runs pretty bad as it is. Like it's 60 frames on Xbox, but it's like 30 on the Switch with stuttering. So I don't know. The games have to be built for the Switch, I think. The games that are built for the Switch run great.
I think it's also the thing of, like, you don't have to port every game to Switch. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it wasn't a good idea. I know they want to do it just because there's an audience there for that game, but sometimes it's like, I don't think so.
Well, this is one thing they could potentially do in the future with xCloud. Because, like, do you remember Resident Evil 7 on the Switch? They basically...
Yeah, it was a cloud version in Japan, right? Streaming version?
It was just basically a packaged streaming version. Like, Microsoft could do that. They could be like, okay, we'll put Halo on the Switch, but it's not going to be the full game. It's going to be like basically a dedicated client to stream the game from xCloud. They could do that. They could do that on phones too. Like sell Halo Infinite on mobile, but really it's just a wrapper for the xCloud version or something like that. I can actually foresee Microsoft doing something like that in the future.
All right, so we got Alpon Super Chat saying, "Hey, xCloud makes Lockhart moot if PS5 is equal to Xbox Series X."
Mm,
Well, they always talk about the console being the Halo driver for the ecosystem, especially like the Series X. That's where you're going to make a lot of your money because that's where your hardcore is. And the Lockhart would essentially be for the casual crowd, the ones that don't want to spend it, and xCloud will be for people that want to take their gaming outside of their console as like a companion, and then eventually you open up
who
to,
haven't played at all.
then you open up to new markets, maybe get more Japanese people checking it out, or maybe people in India and places like that. And who knows, maybe streaming takes off 8 years from now, and you're in a prime position of being like the leader in that regard. JD Gamer says, not that this is a realistic price point, but does a $299 price for Series X end the console war immediately? Pretty much like Sony did against Sega. Obviously, that's not a realistic price point, like you said. Would it end the console war? I mean, I guess it would. What? So are we assuming the PS5 is like $500 then? So you say a $300 Series X versus a PS5 that's $500, so it's $200 difference. Does it end the war? I don't think so, because obviously Xbox would regain a ton of market share, but there are still people. I mean, PlayStation is a beloved brand in gaming, and that really can't be discounted whatsoever. There would be people who never switch.
Yeah, even the PS3. Even PS3, before we had digital licenses, even that didn't kill PlayStation. So
yeah, so while it would be Microsoft would be dancing a jig, and they would regain a ton of market share, and but no, there's plenty of people that would be like, I'm still gonna go with PlayStation. Shout out to Kids Move, the best bot. He goes, what game, current Xbox One or 360 game, do you think will receive the biggest leap upgrade on Series X? I would think it's probably one of the first-party games from Microsoft. Well, because we at least know that some of those games are getting upgraded. And probably, like, retouched, because we don't know how many or how vast the improvements will be on Xbox One or the 360. I mean, we've seen some of the 360 games get those special treatments where they go back and, like, they upgrade it to 4K, like I think some of the Splinter Cell games, where they kind of start looking like a next-gen game. And I mean, some of the back and pat stuff was a little bit vague in Jason Ronald's article. Like, how many of the games get HDR support? It really was, they didn't really say if it was like all of them, or how many games actually double their frame rate. They didn't really mention a set number. They just mentioned that, hey, maybe like you'll definitely have a higher resolution if they're using dynamic resolution or stuff. But so I would imagine it's one of Microsoft's own games, like essentially like something like the Coalition, like Gears 5. Like Gears 5 is one of the best looking games of this gen, and it runs at 60 frames. Like, you can take a look at all the great games from this gen, and the vast majority of them, especially on console, not obviously saying on PC, they're all run at 30 frames, right? The Coalition got Gears 5 to look the way it did and run at 60 frames. Like, that's a remarkable achievement. So assuming they go back, they're going to add ray tracing to it. It's probably going to run at native 4K instead of dynamic 4K. I wouldn't be surprised if it also probably runs at 120 frames. Like, it might be Gears 5, you know? What do you think, Jez?
Well, they've already confirmed ray tracing for Gears 5.
Yeah.
In some of the very, very early videos. So, and they're probably doing a lot of this work with Gears 5 right now. Like, it's a perfect candidate for a sort of cross-gen upgrade sort of game. And also it could, like, revitalize the multiplayer a bit, maybe, which is sort of like, people still play it, but it's dropped off a bit, or a lot, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really been a fan of Gears multiplayer. Like, I just kind of can't do it. Like the wall bouncing shit, I can't do it. Or I've never really bothered to learn how to do it. But I don't know. I didn't even like horde mode in this one. Like the way you couldn't hunker down, you had to like move around the map and take all your stuff with you. I didn't like the flow of that. But you know, It's neither here nor there. The campaign was great though.
Yeah, sure
That
was.
campaign. In any case, kind of went off on a tangent there. Like, what other games could get like upgrades reasonably? Like,
I mean, Sea of Thieves definitely probably hit
Oh, yeah.
60 for sure. Like I said, it'd definitely be the Xbox Game Studio games. Maybe some of the, I don't know, Call of Duty games. Maybe some of the Fortnite might probably, like the ones that are like played right now, Rainbow Six Siege. You know, the ones that there are big communities for that people are going to want to continue to play, where it's like worth the investment of the studio to upgrade it. You know what I mean? In a
I
significant
suppose
manner.
like we'll finally get like ray tracing in Minecraft on Xbox eventually as well.
Yeah. What else we got here? We got Jedi in chat saying, drinking anything right now, Jez? You getting drunk, Jez? You drinking anything?
I'm actually not. I've got no alcohol at the moment. Which is a shame.
That's a shame indeed.
Maybe I'll buy some for next week or something. But
And Rogue Merlin says Xbox Series with Game Pass Ultimate for $30 a month for 18 months. Okay, yeah.
oh my god! I thought someone had donated you $2,500 then.
Yeah, that would be amazing. But shout out to Manuel Meza. He says, "Hey guys, is Xbox Series X releasing globally like the PS5? Big fan from Costa Rica, and would like xCloud and Microsoft Rewards to work down here. Thanks." Like I always it always surprises me and it makes me really happy when people talk about where they're from and they're listening to the show. Like I thought I would never reach the point where somebody from Costa Rica or all these other places across the world would want to listen to like what I have to say. I mean, I'm a nobody, you know what I mean? And I know we had people like shout out, everybody in chat who's, from wherever you want. If you want to put out where you're from, like I'm sure there'll be plenty of people like, "Hey, I'm from Germany," or "I'm from Russia." It's awesome to see a lot of people from a lot of different like backgrounds and different places across the world. Yeah.
Put in chat where you're from. We want to see.
PL, he says he's from Chile,
Nice.
which is amazing. But yeah, Microsoft Rewards, I know a lot of people would like to see that work outside the United States, and I do feel that Microsoft focuses on the U.S. maybe too much to their own detriment. Like they don't really seem to give the same thought to other countries. Like you've written articles about like what was that thing about translations, was it, or
localization?
Yeah, localization. Like so. I mean, look at all the people chiming in. New Zealand, Scotland. We got someone from Georgia, the United States, Costa Rica, Ireland. Ireland, that's awesome. I've always wanted to go to Ireland. California, Ukraine, Portugal, Denmark. The goat says he's from Wakanda. Yeah. Hello there. Yeah, it's amazing. A lot of people from across all the world. Czech Republic, France, Florida.
India.
Yeah, but Microsoft needs to do a better job of all that stuff. The rewards program, which is great here in the United States. Like I buy a game, I get rewarded. But as far as your question about Series X releasing globally, I did have a little note here about Xbox Japan confirming that the Series X will launch, in 2020 for that region, which is big news. Well, I know the Xbox. Go ahead, Jess.
I heard that, like, do you remember when we talked about hearing that the Xbox was going to launch earlier than people had expected?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The other piece of information that I heard with that was that it was going to be a global simultaneous launch in all the territories they're currently in, which is something that Microsoft hasn't been great at in the past, but they've slowly been getting better at.
Well, yeah, that was, I mean, so the Xbox One came out in the United States and I think 11 other countries in 2013 in November, and it didn't launch in Japan until September of the following year. I mean, granted, Xbox isn't going to do well in Japan regardless. They tried with the 360. They even did some exclusives like Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon. Didn't really move the needle. But I'm obviously launching a year later in Japan and some of these other countries has basically killed any sort of momentum or love people had for the Xbox brand. So, yeah, I mean, Phil's talked about it, Manuel. He wants to, the plan is to release the Series X globally, just like the PS5, day one and pretty much everywhere. As
But
far as
it's only going to be regions that they're currently in. You know,
yes,
a lot of countries that Microsoft isn't officially operating services in, they have. I mean, I learned a lot of this stuff when I was writing the localization article, but they have to like import the console from either like neighboring countries or like the closest like supported nation and stuff like that. And when they do that, oftentimes the consoles aren't supported properly in their region, or they're blocked by the government and they have to use VPNs and stuff like that. Obviously Microsoft can't do anything about what governments do to the internet, but at the very least they should try and like bring as many people into like the global community of gaming as possible, because Microsoft can afford to do this stuff. They can afford to do it. And it's like every time I see like a Cortana update hit for Windows, and it's like, oh, this feature's only available in the US, even though like Canada, Ireland, or pretty much most places at least speak enough English to communicate with a smart assistant. It's so dumb to me how Microsoft treats some of this localization stuff. But it comes back to like how Microsoft seems to be paranoid about things. Like those warnings about mods on the app were just so strange to me. How paranoid they were. Like, oh, if you download mods, we accept no responsibility for anything that goes wrong. Like, and I get Microsoft's a big corporation and people will try and come after them and sue them because they think they can get some money or something. But I don't know. Microsoft could definitely do better on the localization front.
oh, they definitely can. Sovereign, he says, hey, if Halo Infinite has 100 times more AI in campaign, how would that translate to crossplay campaign? I would assuming like if you're talking about you're playing on Series X and then Xbox One, you're playing with somebody on Xbox One, how would it translate?
Oh, you mean like if the game has if there are like game features that require more powerful hardware, like extra mobs on screen and stuff like that. That's an interesting point to make. I think the answer is like I don't know. It comes to a point where you have to wonder if there will be things that do get held back,
Mm.
or if like Microsoft are like, okay, like we're gonna have 100, say 1,000 grunts on screen. A Master Chief's gonna mow them down with a big Gatling gun or a Spartan laser or something, and but we can't do that on the regular Xbox. So what do we do? Do we scale back the amount of enemies, or do we just like crater the resolution and frame rate for that particular scene or something? There are things they can do to get around it, and I suppose it's on the developers' creativity to sort of do it in a way that doesn't impact the different versions of the game. But this has never been an issue on PC, really. Like, for example, in World of Warcraft's like a really old game, 15 years old, 16 years old now, almost. But they've always like added new things to the graphics engine. Like they're adding ray tracing. They're adding ray tracing to World of Warcraft in the next update. But you can still run World of Warcraft on a potato because the game's 15 years old. So you can like scale things back so much in that game. You can like hide all the plants in the world. You can remove 3D objects to increase performance, like I don't know, fences and buildings and random objects that don't really impact the gameplay. They're just there for like looks and stuff. There are lots of tricks developers can use to like improve performance. They call it ground clutter, right? Ground clutter, where things are just on the floor. Like that uses up a significant amount of resources. If you've got like a whole field full of grass and each blade of grass has a ray traced shadow, that's gonna eat a lot of your power. But you can just turn that off on the Xbox One and regain a lot of those resources. So that's a very roundabout answer.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember playing PUBG on the Xbox One X and Xbox One, and on the One X you had like longer draw distances. You had higher resolution, so you could see more clearly. You could, because of the draw distance, like trees and bushes you'd see it further away. Stuff would load in faster, so it wouldn't be like the blocky mess like some buildings would be. There's definitely advantages to playing, and you'd get like more stable frame rate in some instances. So I'd be interested in seeing how that does work. Sin Vendetta, shout out to him again. In the super chat, he says, speaking of Bloodborne, have to give a plug to Mooch, who is streaming Bloodborne on Twitch in about an hour. He's currently trying to get past Father Gascon. Yeah, that's Father Gascon is a pretty tough boss fight. I think I beat him on my third or fourth try. You should really play Bloodborne and you get a chance, Jess.
If you could compare the difficulty of Bloodborne to something, what would you compare it to?
I mean, I would compare it to the other Dark Souls games. I don't know. I mean, like they're all very similar.
Is it like the thing that I didn't like about Dark Souls was like dying and having to go through the same area again and kill the same.
That's what you got to do in Bloodborne. Yeah.
Yeah, I get bored of that, man.
Yeah,
like,
a lot of people do. Yeah, Sekiro has the same thing. That's like the staple of, of that genre. Like you die, you spawn at a certain point, and you gotta refight all the enemies, or you come to a checkpoint, and if you rest, all the enemies you killed now respawn. That's kind of that hallmark.
You have to do that in a World of Warcraft raid as well, where if you wipe on a boss, you have to do it all over again. And then the trash, if you take too long, the trash respawns. You have to kill all the trash again. But at least you're on comms with people, and you're all suffering together. You spent 3 hours trying to kill a boss or some really hard boss on mythic difficulty. At least you're all suffering together. Yeah. So I think my brain sort of slips into that sort of mindset I have when I'm playing World of Warcraft at hardcore level. And it's this is the same sort of grind that I feel when I'm wiping on a boss in WoW, but I'm all alone and sad instead of with my friends and sad. I don't know. It's like a mental block almost. I need to try and power through it because Bloodborne has such a sexy aesthetic, man. There's something so sexy about that game.
Shout out to Ashtray Gaming in the chat. He says he's from Australia. A lot of different people from a lot of different parts in the world. Kid Smooth, he says, how will Lockhart play Xbox One X enhanced games, Jez?
With reduced resolution and frames. That's it. That's my answer. That's pretty much what they're going to do. Is Lockhart will have reduced everything effects. Ground clutter will be pared back. If you've got a PC, just put Gears Tactics on Ultra, right? And then in the settings, it actually shows there's a slider in Gears Tactics PC settings, and you can see in real time what happens when you slide the graphics up and down. And you see the resolution on the shadows decrease. You see less shadows. You see less fidelity on random objects in the game. It'll lower the resolution on buildings and stuff like that, just to try and improve the performance on the models and things like that. There's a lot of stuff they can do.
You're talking about Xbox. You're talking about Xbox One. It'll run Xbox One X enhanced games worse. Is that what you're saying?
What?
Well,
what?
I'm confused. So you're saying that it would run them worse or better?
Oh, I thought you meant how's Lockhart going to run Xbox Series X?
No, Xbox One X enhanced games.
That's okay. That's a completely different kettle of fish. I have no idea. I mean, I presume they're a different graphical target in the system. So developers will have to test those games and make sure they work and stuff like that. I have no idea if they'll just sort of match it on power, because we still don't know the specifics of Lockhart and what it is and what it does and all that sort of stuff. So it remains to be seen. Maybe I don't know what they'll do. Will they just have the Xbox One X version on Lockhart and then scale from that version, or will they scale back from the Xbox Series X version? I think they'll do it. It's an interesting proposition, and it's something ultimately we won't know until the consoles are out there, and I can go and ask a developer friend and be like, "So, how does this work?" Because I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah,
explain it to me.
What else we got here? Kingdom of Amalur Re-Reckoning was announced, or actually leaked on the Microsoft Store before they announced it.
Oh my god, man! I had no idea the backstory of that game, Kingdoms of Amalur.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, isn't it? The whole Kurt Schilling
Yeah.
thing, and yeah, it's nuts. But what is with all of a sudden all the remasters? It's like we didn't have any remasters for a bit of time. Granted, they were a lot at the beginning of the gen, and there weren't any for a few years. And now this year, it was like everybody's doing remasters.
Yeah.
Like it just seems like a really weird thing.
Well, in the case of Kingdoms of Amalur, it's like THQ purchased the Kingdoms of Amalur from the state of Rhode Island.
The state of Rhode Island. That's right. Yep.
I want to tell you something really embarrassing, Rand.
Okay, go ahead.
I thought Rhode Island had been made up for the movie Me, Myself, and Irene.
Really? You thought it was a made-up state?
I didn't know it was a real state. I was like, you can't have a state that's an island, can you?
It's not an island. It's a very small state. Like I think it's
It's not an island. Why is it called Rhode Island if it's not even an island?
Well, I mean, why is New York called New York? It's not even it's not a New York.
Well, New York's called New York because it's the New York, right? There's a York in the UK.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
old York.
I know why it's called that. But no, Rhode Island is a very small state, and it's not an island. At least, unless my U.S. geography is blanking me. Granted, I haven't done any of that since grammar school, but no, it's
surely I know British geography, kind of. Is Rhode Island an island?
Hey man, we got a Rhode Island person
Manly.
here. Manly Rodriguez says he's from Rhode Island. You living on Jez thinks it's all fake news, Manly. That there's no such things as Rhode Island.
I didn't know it was real. I thought it was made up for that movie. I love that movie though. Have you seen that movie? Me, Myself, and Irene. It's a good movie with Jim Carrey.
You know, Jez, you could always just go to Google and just type in Rhode Island and look at a map and see if it is Rhode.
Well,
Island.
Well, I was reading about the stuff with what is it, 38 studios or 36 studios? 36 studios? I don't know, but anyway, the studio that made Kingdoms of Amalur was basically they took tons of loans out from the state of Rhode Island, and then they couldn't pay them back because Kingdoms of Amalur didn't make any money. Like they'd convinced the politicians in Rhode Island that the Kingdoms of Amalur was going to be the next World of Warcraft or something.
Yeah,
and they were going to make this MMO, and they were going to be a big tech company, and they were going to be like Activision, they were going to be like Blizzard and stuff. And it didn't turn out that way. And the dude lost all his money, like the sports guy. What did you say his name? Kurt Schilling. Right?
Kurt Schilling, yeah, he was a pitcher for the Red Sox. Looking at the map of Rhode Island has a bunch of islands in it, but it's the whole state is not. The whole state is not an island, though.
Oh.
Okay. Jedi says in Super Chat, when will Mass Effect Trilogy be remastered? I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite podcast on the YouTube channel. It's funny. I think you'll be playing the Mass Effect Trilogy remastered this year. I think it's going to be coming out in a couple months. So
in a couple of months?
Oh yeah, I think it'll be out real soon.
Oh wow! Rand with the scoop. Rand with the scoops.
I mean, I've said that before. It's 100% real, and it's coming soon. So I don't think.
I just mean when it was coming. I didn't know it was coming soon.
It's coming out. It'll be out before the new consoles.
Is I just want to know the extent to which Mass Effect 1's going to be remastered, quote unquote. Because I hate the combat in that game.
That is an interesting scenario, and I have no idea what they're going to do with Mass Effect 1's combat. If I had to guess, probably not. They're not going to change anything in regards to the combat. You're just going to have to just kind of
that is
go
one
with
game.
it.
That's one game I would love to see get a sort of Halo 2 anniversary makeover, kind of. Like, where they sort of upgrade the cinematics or like some of the cutscenes. Like, I'm not expecting them to like fix a lot of the, those like random ass side missions on the empty planets. I'm not expecting them to turn those into full blown open worlds and stuff like that. But like, if they had like refined combat a bit, like, man, I just really, I don't know. The combat in that game bugs me.
The combat in 1 isn't very good, but the combat holds up for 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So there was also a big deal made about the Xbox Game Pass coming to Samsung TVs, Jez.
Yeah, that was funny. Like, someone actually tipped me off about that months ago. Or well, it feels like months. It probably was weeks, but you know what's going on in the world. Everything feels like months at this point. And I actually emailed Microsoft about it because Samsung really does make it look like it's xCloud, right? They've got like like for those who don't know, Samsung has a package called what is it? Samsung TV Plus, I think it's called.
Something like that. Yeah, yes, something
So,
like that.
If you pay for Samsung TV Plus, you get like a bunch of perks, like TV packages for your TV and like extra insurance or something like that. But you can also choose from like a bunch of subscriptions. So you can have like YouTube Premium or Netflix or I think is it Hulu in the US or something like that. And then you can also choose Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for 12 months. So because of that, and the way that Samsung have presented it, there's a big banner with a TV with Forza on it. A lot of people took that to mean that you could get xCloud straight on your TV for 12 months. But nah, that's not what it is. You still need an Xbox right now. But part of me wonders, Rand, if this was supposed to be xCloud and xCloud is delayed. Or
Interesting.
Something.
I mean... I mean, they remember they announced the partnership with Samsung like earlier in the year, maybe end of last year, and we speculated about it. And I thought this would just be Microsoft being like, you bought a TV from them, and it would come preloaded with the xCloud app.
Yeah.
And then you have this, which I wouldn't be surprised if this is like something completely separate. From
Samsung and Microsoft are super close right now. I don't think, like, in terms of hardware companies, I don't think Microsoft's closer to anyone else. Like, Samsung's version of Android actually has Windows code in it now. So, like, when you have a Samsung phone, you can basically fully connect it to Windows 10. Like, you can stream the screen of your phone to your PC. You can control your phone with a mouse and keyboard without having to pick up your phone, which is awesome to do if you've got a Samsung Galaxy. It's like magic. And Microsoft has those features on some of their Android phones, but it's nowhere near as integrated as it is on Samsung. And that's part of that partnership. And all Samsung phones come preloaded with that. So to think that xCloud is going to be preloaded with Samsung smart TVs, it's a given, I would say at this point. It's going to happen. It's just a question of getting xCloud out the door because it's taking some time, man. It's taking some time.
Yeah. And I mean, as far as we know, xCloud is still scheduled to launch this year. Maybe that's been delayed, maybe not. Who knows? Probably.
It's hard to say. I think a lot of the things with xCloud at this point is probably like licensing and locking deals down and stuff, because it basically feels ready to go. Like there's nothing. Oh, and I just want to say as well, I've been using the Razer Kishi controller. I don't know if you've seen this, Rand.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
No, what is it?
The Razer Kishi is like, it basically turns your phone into a Switch. You plug two controllers onto either side of your phone, and then it works like a Switch, and your phone is the screen. And but the big difference is that it uses USB-C and not Bluetooth, and that eliminates a lot of latency. Like, I had no idea how much latency Bluetooth introduced into the whole system, but apparently it's a lot. And I'm going to write about that in a couple of weeks. But yeah, slight tangent there. If anyone's interested in the Kishi, check out Windows Central in a little while. But I don't know. We've had a super chat though.
I know. I was gonna read that. Sin Vendetta says, "Hey Jez, why doesn't Microsoft sell Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for a year at a discounted price yet? Currently, they sell only up to 3 months." Interesting. An interesting question. I've also wondered that. Why don't they sell a year at a bulk discount?
That is interesting. Is it just Game Pass Ultimate where they don't?
Yeah, I know Xbox Live is definitely bulk discounted, and Game Pass. I don't know if Game Pass is discounted either. I think Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate are just like it's literally like the price,
Mm.
factored out, and there's no year option. At least I don't think so. Maybe there is.
It might be a case of like uh, economics. It might be something weird like developers wanting to know how much value they get out of a 12-month Game Pass Ultimate thing. Because don't forget, Game Pass Ultimate gives you PC as well. And you might be thinking like, well, why doesn't Microsoft just shoulder all those costs and stuff? But a lot of the stuff they do with xCloud has to be sort of strung through the feedback of developers first, because a lot of developers kind of be like, well, um, what are you doing with our games, basically? I don't know. But that's just speculation. Ultimately, I don't know. Could even be something dumb like an oversight. We're talking about like how xCloud doesn't have a family pass either, which I think is dumb.
The Family Pass thing, yeah. I remember when they got rid of that on the Xbox 360. People were pissed.
I didn't even know it was on the 360. People, when I wrote that article, people were like, "Oh yeah, I remember when that was on the 360," and I was like, "Oh god, that was on 360."
Sure
I didn't
was.
know.
Sure was.
I didn't really pay much attention to Xbox back then. I was so deep in World of Warcraft then. Xbox. I had an Xbox, but I didn't really use it that much. I was all about, you know, World of Warcraft basically.
Yeah.
But that's interesting.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a good place to end the proper show, but of course, we'll take some questions. So if you got something you want to ask, make sure you drop it in chat. But before you go, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Follow me and Jez on Twitter. We appreciate everyone for being here. And if you're listening to this later on iTunes and Google Play, we appreciate you. Spotify. The podcast should be up probably sometime tomorrow after I email it to Jez. It was a good show, Jez. Really good show. I love doing the podcast with you. It's always a good time. The 2 hours always goes by super fast. You ever
Yeah, they
notice
do.
that? Like it's like
Yep.
feels like we just started the show. Um. So
A lot of people have said to me that our show's too long as well. By the way.
yeah, I know. A lot of people have complaints about everything. Emperor Zerky says, "Do you talk about the amazing Sega news? $50 keychain. We did actually at the beginning of the show. Me and Jez both made fun of it." Skyro Gaming says, "Any opinion on the Take-Two and Kerbal Space Program dev situation?" I
Oh
only
yeah.
read the headline. I didn't actually read into it. Jez, do you have any like? Did you read more about that? Like, because it sounded pretty scummy from just like the headline.
Like I didn't read. I don't know the details either. Like my team covered that while I was knee deep in Minecraft Dungeons guides and stuff. But from what I understand, basically 2K didn't like the deal they had with the Kerbal Space Program developer or something, and they basically spun to like screw over that dev. They spun up a studio and poached all of their staff and basically gutted the studio, which is just like so scummy. It's so strange. Like that's the kind of thing Microsoft used to do in the 90s to kill their competitors, right? The kind of thing that earned Microsoft the reputation that it still has with a lot of people, that they're this evil company. That's the sort of thing Microsoft did in the 90s, where they'd see it, well, and also like kind of what Facebook's tried to do to Snapchat as well with Instagram and poaching staff and stuff like that. But like the difference there is Snapchat's like a huge company in its own right. This is like a small developer, and 2K have just sort of squashed them.
Yes, they
It's
did.
it's messed up, man.
It is pretty messed up. Alex wants to know, hey, when was the last time you got a haircut? Oh man, you don't want to know how long my hair is right now. I need to get a haircut. Not only that, my beard. I haven't shaved my beard since lockdown, and my beard is quite long. I need to basically go to a barber and get my beard and my hair shaved. So
I shaved my beard like not long ago, but it was getting pretty wild.
Yeah.
And then like I actually haven't gone to a barber in about maybe 20 years or more, 23 years or something.
Mm.
Because what I used to do was I used to just like every few months I used to just shave my head, and then I decided to grow my hair out, and then I just like grab it all into a ponytail and then cut it off. Just the cheapest haircut you can imagine. Either just go completely bald or just chop off the ponytail. I want to go to barbers one day. I just for the experience.
That is definitely one way to do it. David Schaffer says, "Hey, what announced Series X exclusive are you most excited about?" Announced? Well, that would be Halo Infinite for me. I don't know if that you would consider that a Series X exclusive, but that's definitely the one I am like so excited to finally get to play.
I know nothing about it, but the aesthetic and knowing what Hellblade 1 was like, and that trailer, that Hellblade 2 trailer is just like, man.
How many times have you listened to it now?
I've watched that trailer about 200 times, and wow,
never gets old. Never gets old.
I listened to. I've watched the trailer about maybe 20 times, but I've listened to the song about 200 times.
Yeah.
I love that song.
Drunken Ninja says, "Hey, Rand and Jez, early July or late July?" I'm assuming you mean for the Xbox July event. I'm gonna say late July, closer to August.
I'm gonna be a dick and say mid-July.
Mid-July. Okay, there we go. Shout out to Darge Knight. He says, "Great show, great chat. The fire is rising. Fire is always rising." Jordan James says, "Hey, do you think the PS5 back compat program will play PS4 physical discs? Also, thanks for the great show." Of course. Well, I mean, if they didn't play the discs, then that would be a big problem, wouldn't it? So I think it would have to play the discs. And maybe Cerny has already mentioned that, or they've confirmed that, but I would imagine that would be a big no-no if it didn't. Nine Lives wants to know, with everything going on, do you think the July event will get pushed back? I think the July event's already far enough back in July that I don't think it'll get pushed. But that's just me. Who knows? I mean, who knows how long everything lasts for, right? Alex wants to know, when will Xbox collaborate with Rand? They already collaborated with me. I got to do a Million Gamer Score on stage at E3 2016. That was my collaboration. But
that was your big gamer moment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not important enough to collaborate with. I'm a nobody.
Oh, come on.
I'm not. I mean, like you get plenty of other YouTubers and plenty of other influencers out there who have a much bigger following and all that stuff. Like, why would they want to collaborate with little old me? You know what I mean?
You never heard of grassroots marketing?
Yes.
Catch them young, and then they'll love you forever.
Yes. Gorgon says, "Hey, are you worried about the complete lack of gameplay shown for Halo Infinite?" No, because this is usually how Halo does things. I mean, I'm not concerned. I'll be concerned after July and we don't get no gameplay though. But I think we'll get gameplay. So
what would you do if in July they drop like a cinematic trailer and it's CGI and it's like, I don't know, 30 seconds long? What would you do?
Then nobody at Xbox should tune in to the next podcast that we're gonna do, because I will ream everybody out for that. Ian Lindsay says, "Hey, do you think Microsoft will allow you to sign in on the same account at the same time on Xbox One and Series X?"
Nope.
You don't think so? Can you be on the
simultaneously?
Can you be on the 360 and the Xbox One at the same time?
Oh, it's going to use the same system it does now. You'll be able to have one home console and one roaming license. So you'll be able to like set the Xbox Series X as your home console, and then sign into your Xbox One as a cloud console or whatever. I don't think they're going to change that system for the next gen.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you could be signed into the 360 and the Xbox One at the same time. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, that's different. That's different. I think. But like when it comes to
Yeah, I would imagine no. I would imagine you can't be
yeah,
signed in to multiple. Portal Player wants to know, what's the chance of Ori 2 going to Switch?
um, hmm. I think it could happen. In fact I think it will happen eventually. It's just a matter of when. Could be like a couple of years down the line, but I do think it will happen. I think like if Moon Studios comes to Microsoft and says, "Can we put this on the Switch now?" I don't think Microsoft's going to turn around and say no. I can't see that.
I would not be shocked to see Ori 2 come to Switch.
No, I think or given that they put Ori 1 there, I think like they could do that.
In fact, I remember hearing that Ori 2 was supposed to launch day 1 on Switch.
Yeah.
But things change. Stuff moves around, so I wouldn't be surprised. Let's see what else we got here. Rated Demonic says, "Hey, I know it's been a short year so far, but what is your game of the year right now?" My game of the year probably is Doom Eternal right now. I would say Jez's is probably Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Get for game of the year?
Yeah, if you had to make a list right now.
Ooh. I don't know, man. That the ending of Final Fantasy VII Remake really took the edge off the game. Like it didn't ruin it, but it kind of ruined it. Uh, so like it just left a sour taste in my mouth at the end. I was kind of like, I'm not gonna deduct points for this because I know a lot of people won't care or won't mind. But as like a hardcore Final Fantasy fan, I really hated the ending of Final Fantasy VII. It left a sour taste. So, um, but I don't know. It still probably is the best game I played this year. But I suspect The Last of Us 2 is going to replace it.
Yeah,
Personally,
I would. Usually, it's either Doom Eternal or Ori for me. But I would imagine if I played Ori now with all the patches it's had, it probably would be Ori. It's just that when I played Ori, it was it was in a bad state. Like you had so many problems. And that game, you want to talk about a game coming in hot? Oh boy, did Ori
yeah,
come in hot? And
it
I
did.
still love Ori. It's just, man, I had so many save problems. It definitely was a game that was not ready to come out at launch. I mean, when it did,
Almost heartbreaking.
but like Doom
'Cause you
Eternal was just fire from beginning to end, and it just worked. So it's like for me, it's like Doom Eternal and Ori are pretty much like right there.
I'm still low key salty about there not being a real multiplayer mode in Doom Eternal.
I couldn't care less about there being a multiplayer mode, but that's just me.
I,
Ryan,
I like. I
I know,
like
I know you liked it. And I know a lot of people
multiplayer,
liked it.
man.
Ryan says, if you and Jez were put in charge of Stadia, what emergency and long-term changes would you make to strengthen the brand? I would just shut it down.
I'd shut it down. I'd shut it down. I'd go to the CEO and be like, dude, this is a waste of money. This is a waste of money. Let's just shut it down and double down on making YouTube less of a cesspit. That's what I would do.
The problem with Stadia is it launched basically as the used game section of GameStop. Games that most people
That's
already had
generous.
played and owned. Like, the problem was they don't have any content that makes you want to be like, I need Google Stadia for. And a lot of those games that they are making, like for their own internal studios, are long ways away. So it'll be years before that happens. And the games that they are getting like timed exclusivity for, like Orcs Must Die 2 or Serious Sam 4, like they're not going to move the needle because those games are still also coming to PC, Steam day one. Nobody's going to care. So
I think like ultimately what they should have done with Stadia is launch it as a feature of the Google Play Store and not try and like lock it down to their own devices because they made exactly the same mistake that Microsoft made with some of its services where they're like, oh, we can use this to sell our hardware. But it's not about the hardware, it's about the people using your stuff. And the fact that they locked it to Pixel phones was just so stupid to try and claw back some market share from Samsung or some misguided venture. There's rumors that Google might even stop making its Pixel phones because they sell so badly. You know, it's like Windows. It's even worse than Windows Phone. Like nobody buys Pixel phones. They all buy Samsung phones for Android and
Yeah.
Huawei phones and anything but Pixel phone. So I don't
Hard,
know. While the Pixel phones are pretty good, like nobody buys them.
Hardline Gaming says, "Hey, do you think Hellblade will launch soon after Series X?" I don't think so.
I don't think so. Maybe that's. Do you think that could be like a holiday next year title,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
maybe?
I guess it depends on your definition of soon. I don't expect it at launch, and I don't think I really expect it in 2021 either. But I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe it's a lot further along than what we think.
I just
Um,
hope they like really take their time with it and knock it out the park. Like I think Hellblade could evolve beyond its sort of almost walking simulator roots. I know it had combat, but it was like that wasn't the point of the game. Was not the combat. I would like to see it become more of a interactive experience personally. Um, I just hope it becomes like this flagship pillar franchise because it has that potential. You know.
all right. Well, I think those are all the questions I see in here. So we appreciate everyone staying for the question and answer segment. We'll be back next week, obviously on Friday, with hopefully more great stuff to talk about. You guys make the show a joy to do with Jez. Thanks for all the new people who joined the channel and super chatted and just chatted and weren't toxic assholes like some people are. I don't know why some people like to be assholes and chat and they just get timed out or blocked. So,
Some people are sociopaths, I think.
yeah, that is definitely true. So, thank you guys, and we'll see you next week. Keep it gaming and stay safe.